users, etc. So we need to do some curating over that data. So this step, when we connect to the analytics store, there's no impact, as we know, right? So we can read Cosmos DB HTAP containers, bring it into the Spark data frame, aggregate the results to a new data frame, and then it will you can ingest the data frames from a SQL pool. So there's three steps associated over here. As we talked about, step number one, we read that data, and then we aggregate with Spark, and then we have SQL ingest that data. So really, there's when we get to the details of how to actually implement this, the first step is to configure the Spark notebook, right? And then after we have configured it, we read the data to the data frame using Spark, right? And then we aggregate the results of the data frame to a new data frame. Um, and then we will, at the end, query the results with SQL. So this is the detail step that we will go through as we go and try this out in our next demo. So let's go ahead, and in this demo, as you follow through in your lab, we can kind of query the Cosmos DB with SQL serverless for Synapse Analytics and go through these steps that we just talked about. All right, so let's go into our developer tab and query, right, our Cosmos DB. You can query it in multiple ways. A really simple way to query, what you can do is query directly into the H tab with our SQL serverless or on demand. So go ahead and create a new script and call it user profile HTAP. And after you've created it, go ahead and copy and paste the section that is in our instructions directly in. Just make sure when you put in, copy and paste the instructions in, take a look at that script and replace what we need to do. We need to actually put in, make sure that our account, our Cosmos DB account is named. So we want to make sure that it has the right name. This is our Cosmos DB account, the Cosmos DB database. We want to make sure that that is correct. Just make sure that is correct. And the other key thing is we want to take the Cosmos DB key that we got and we pasted in Notepad. We want to make sure that we put the key in here so that we can query it properly. So after you have put in that into the query, you can actually see what we're doing is we are creating a database called database profiles on our SQL serverless. So make sure that the SQL on demand or serverless is selected here. That will give us the ability to go ahead and create a database over there. And then what we're doing is we are in the profiles database, we're creating a view, and the view actually selects from the Cosmos DB, selects specific columns. So just to make sure that your query works, just like I did here, go ahead and run this query. It might take a little bit time because it's the first time going into Cosmos. So go ahead and run that query, and you should be able to query HTAP query across the Cosmos and verify that. You should get our results over here, and then what after that is successful, you can go ahead and run the script. When you run the script, um, it will go ahead and execute. And when it executes, you should see the execution time. If it's successful, you should get this output over here, and we should be done with that. Now, what we can do is switch over to our data tab. And by the way, this part, just remember that if you wanted to create your own scripts, you can, of course, go in and say select new SQL script and simply create a script like this, and that will generate the open row set where you just need to replace the key information, right? So that is also possible. Um, we don't have to save this. Let's go into our databases in our workspace. What we want to do is go to and refresh this. If we want to see our new database show up here, and there it is, profiles, which is something that we just created. You should see that. We can expand that and take a look at that for a few minutes. If you expand that, you should see external